It was a calm morning in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traoré sat in his office, going through crucial paperwork regarding domestic policy developments, when his aide, Marie, burst in hurriedly. "Mr. President," she said, visibly anxious, "you need to see this immediately." Traoré lifted his gaze from the file he was examining, intrigued by the urgency in Marie's voice. "What is it?" he asked. Marie handed him a tablet showing a live feed of a press conference taking place in the United States. On stage was Barack Obama, the former president of the U.S., speaking about global leadership and the transformations the world must undergo. But what caught Traoré entirely off guard was something wholly unanticipated. Obama had mentioned Burkina Faso by name. "Burkina Faso," said Obama, his voice resonating across the auditorium, "stands as a powerful testament to how smaller nations can drive significant change under the guidance of Ibrahim Traoré. The nation is demonstrating that self-sufficiency and pride are not merely lofty ideals, they are tangible possibilities." Traoré felt his heart pause briefly. He never expected to hear his own name from Barack Obama's lips as facially in such an admiring tone. He kept watching, trying to grasp the weight of what was being said. "Traoré has moved away from conventional aid paradigms," Obama continued, "and is crafting a future grounded in mutual regard and belief in his citizens' abilities. That is genuine leadership." The audience in the hall erupted with approving applause as images of Traoré-led projects appeared behind Obama. Photos of farmers cultivating reclaimed fields, students studying in new classrooms, and young innovators crafting local technological advancements were shown to viewers around the world. Traoré slowly set the tablet down, still stunned. I didn't see that coming," he murmured, shaking his head. Marie beamed, energized. "Mr. President, this is extraordinary. The world is recognizing your achievements." But Traoré remained quiet, reflecting deeply on what had just unfolded. He knew the praise wasn't only about him, it symbolized the collective effort of the Burkina people striving daily to build a brighter future. "Marie," he finally said, "we must respond, not with arrogance but with thankfulness and modesty." Marie nodded, already thinking ahead and beginning to coordinate what would come next. She understood this was a defining moment for both the president and the nation. Meanwhile, across the globe, Obama wrapped up his address with a personal message for Traoré. "Ibrahim," he said, looking into the camera, "if you're watching this, know that your bravery inspires many of us. Keep showing the world that Africa does not need rescue, it needs respect." Obama's words quickly spread across social media, igniting lively discussions about autonomy, self-reliance, and Africa's global role. Hashtags like #respect for Africa and #leadership with dignity began trending, emphasizing the importance of people-first policy. Back in Burkina Faso, Traoré sat absorbing Obama's message. He recognized that it wasn't merely flattery, it was global acknowledgement of Burkina Faso's direction. "Marie," he said after some thought, "arrange a press conference for tomorrow. We must demonstrate that this work goes beyond myths about our people." Marie agreed, already moving to plan the logistics. She knew this would be a pivotal moment. The following day, Ibrahim Traoré held a press briefing at the presidential palace, addressing the world's attention following Barack Obama's remarks. The hall was filled with both domestic and foreign journalists, all keen to hear his response. Traoré stepped up to the podium dressed in traditional Burkina Faso, a clear nod to his cultural heritage. He began his address with calm confidence. "Yesterday," he said, meeting the eyes of the crowd, "Mr. Barack Obama made remarks about our country that left me speechless." The room fell silent, every ear focused. "I never imagined hearing my name from someone of his global stature," Traoré went on. "But what moved me most wasn't the recognition of me personally, it was the acknowledgement of our collective effort." He then introduced a groundbreaking initiative expanding on existing efforts, the Sovereign Future Program, intended to empower communities to create sustainable local solutions without relying on external assistance. "This initiative," Traoré explained, "is more than policy. It's a declaration that we are capable of taking charge of our own development. And most importantly, it's a reminder that Africa doesn't need saving, it needs respect." The crowd responded with enthusiastic clapping, particularly from local reporters. However, some international media figures appeared doubtful. "Mr. President," a journalist from France asked, "how does Burkina Faso intend to carry out these projects without foreign support? Isn't that too high risk?" Traoré smiled gently before answering. "Every action we take carries some level of risk," he stated, "but the greatest danger would be accepting assistance that undermines our integrity. We are placing our faith in the strength of our people, and I have no doubt they will rise to the challenge." His reply quickly spread across social media, sparking vibrant discussions on independence and long-term development. Hashtags like #AfricaWithRespect and #dignified leadership became popular, bringing attention to the value of community-based governance. At the same time, behind the curtain, Traoré's administration was actively working on the plan's rollout. The Minister of Agriculture convened meetings with local leaders to determine which regions required the most immediate support. Meanwhile, Marie, a dedicated social worker managing the outreach, visited rural communities to listen directly to the concerns of local farmers. "This is going to change everything," said an elderly farmer during one of her visits. "We'll finally have the opportunity to cultivate our land and feed our own families." Marie smiled, deeply touched by their words. She understood this wasn't merely a government initiative, it was a chance to reshape lives in a meaningful way. Barack Obama's remarks about Ibrahim Traoré quickly made waves across the globe. His message of honor and acknowledgement for Burkina Faso's autonomy echoed with world leaders, grassroots organizations, and ordinary citizens alike. The image of an African nation steering its own development free of external dependencies sparked conversations about how others could take similar paths. In the United States, reactions to Obama's address were mixed. Some praised the former president for spotlighting uplifting global leadership models. Others, however, voiced skepticism at the notion that African nations could thrive without international assistance. During a live panel, a political analyst expressed admiration for the Burkinab leader. "Traoré is reminding us of something we've long overlooked," he said. "That true leadership isn't about dictating and about enabling people to find their own elsewhere across the African continent." Traoré's example received widespread praise. Leaders in neighboring countries began to shape similar programs, adapting them to their own environments. In Nigeria, for instance, a youth-led movement launched an initiative titled Value Your People, aiming to crowdsource funds to help rural communities build lasting local projects. Back in Burkina Faso, Traoré kept receiving updates on the evolution of the Sovereign Future program. In one remote village, he met a woman named Fatou who had directly benefited from the initiative. She was now teaching woodworking skills to other women in her area. "There was a time I could barely feed my kids," she explained during an interview with a local news station. "Now I'm helping other women build their futures. All of it's thanks to President Traoré." The story went viral on social platforms, further cementing Traoré's reputation as a forward-thinking and people-centered leader. Once again, hashtags like #AfricaWithRespect and #dignified leadership gained traction, reinforcing the focus on policies that prioritize community resilience. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Traoré's administration was scaling up its operations. The Minister of Agriculture forged alliances with universities to deliver agricultural training to local farmers. Marie continued to coordinate efforts to guarantee that families had access to essential services like clean water and electricity. "We're only at the beginning," Traoré told his team during a strategy meeting, "but we're already witnessing the early fruits of our labor. And this transformation, it isn't just financial, it touches our society, our traditions, and most importantly, our humanity." Watching the developments unfold, a visiting journalist jotted down a reflection in his notebook. "Today in Burkina Faso, I witnessed a glimpse of Africa's future, one that reveres its heritage, uplifts its champions, and lays down foundations of dignity for all." Fatou moved slowly toward the innovation center, her heart heavy with mixed feelings. She had come a long way from Bobo Dioulasso, carrying not just her luggage but also the memories of her late mother, Marie, who had always dreamed her daughter would reach greater heights. When she arrived, she was met with a scene beyond anything she had imagined. A large group had assembled to celebrate the achievements of the Futur Souverain program. Marie was there, just as Traoré had described, tears rolling down her cheeks, as she managed the final touches of the event. Malik, the young boy who once battled a high fever in a temporary clinic, now stood proudly in a new sweater, grinning beside her, holding a board filled with pictures of grassroots projects. Ibrahim Traoré stepped onto the platform, clearly emotional when he noticed Fatou entering the hall. He made his way toward her and reached out his hand gently. "Welcome," he said, his voice trembling with feeling. "You represent the living proof that we're creating something greater than ourselves." Fatou nodded, fighting back her tears. "My mother always believed this moment would come," she said, holding a worn-out book that had once belonged to her mother. Inside it, a simple phrase was written: "Knowledge is the greatest gift we can pass on." Traoré smiled, clearly moved by the words. He understood this was more than a keepsake. It was a symbol, a reminder that even small gestures of care could spark profound change. During the formal address, Traoré spoke directly to the hearts of those gathered. "Today," he began, his voice ringing through the crowded auditorium, "we are not gathered here merely to recognize statistics or policy outcomes. We are here to pay tribute to the men and women who shaped this nation with their hands and with their minds. You are the true foundation of Burkina Faso." Then he turned his attention to Barack Obama, even though he knew the former U.S. president wasn't physically present. "Mr. Obama," he said, staring straight into the camera lenses, "your words left me speechless, but I want you to understand they weren't just about me. They were about the entire people of Burkina Faso who rise each day with determination to shape a better future." The crowd responded with warm applause as visuals appeared on the screen: farmers thriving in their fields, children learning in refurbished classrooms, and young researchers crafting creative solutions to community challenges. Fatou was then called to the stage to share a few words. She paused briefly, gathering strength before speaking. "My mother always told me we must fight for the things we believe in," she said, holding up her mother's cherished book. "And today, because of this center, I believe I can fulfill her dreams as well. I want to use the knowledge I've gained to help my community grow more food and care for the land properly." The audience burst into cheers, and Traoré embraced Fatou warmly. He understood in that moment that this was the real success of the program, motivating future generations to cherish their heritage and shape their own future. Watching it all unfold, a reporter quietly jotted down a reflection in his notebook. "Today in Burkina Faso, I witnessed a vision of Africa that treasures its roots, honors its champions, and builds pathways of dignity for everyone." Meanwhile, over in the United States, Barack Obama was tuned in to the live stream, his respect visibly growing. In a live interview shortly afterward, he was asked once more about Traoré. "This man is something remarkable," Obama replied, taking the audience by surprise. "He's showing us that true leadership comes from listening to your people and responding with humility." Obama's remarks were broadly shared across media platforms, further strengthening the idea that small acts of compassion and authentic leadership can bring people together across continents. Meanwhile, in Burkina Faso, Traoré pressed on with his mission of national renewal. During a trip to a modest countryside village, he encountered a young child named Mamadou, who had been given school supplies and a uniform, made possible by the funds raised through recent land reform efforts. "Mr. President," she said, her voice trembling with feeling, "this is for you. I wanted to show you that we are using what we've received to gain knowledge." Traoré gave a heartfelt smile, clearly moved. "Don't owe this to us, Mamadou," he said. "You're showing the world that when people are given the right opportunities, they can achieve anything."